It's hotter than a family trip to DC out there, and we're all a little fussy. So let's just get this proverbial minivan on the road. And no, we are not stopping for ice cream, so stop asking. This episode, we have finally lured our childhood BFF and former Mrs. Getchell student, Haley, into the Pod Loft to share her personal journey with inattentive ADHD. Join us as Haley talks about the importance of understanding your ADHD brain and forgiving yourself, how her own struggles growing up have become her greatest strengths as a teacher and a parent, and the value in making your own fun everywhere you go, even at the phlebotomist office. No, especially at the phlebotomist office.
They said that we'd grow out of it. Well, the joke's on them, that's just our brains. We're eccentric, loud, and stubborn, and most of our clothing is covered in stains. It's not a deficit of attention, there's just too much to think about. So if executive dysfunction becomes a little too much, if you forgot why you came in this room, or you're hypersensitive to touch, then put on your seamless socks and come join our little flock. Bitches stimming together, we're weirds of a feather, weirds of a feather.
Welcome. This is Weirds of a Feather, an ADHD-Adjacent podcast. I am your host, Kristen.
And I'm your host, Grace. And with us today in the Pod Loft is a very special guest, our childhood friend, Haley.
Woo woo!
Hi, I'm Haley.
Haley is a teacher, a mother, a wife, a newly suspected ADHDer, and always the very last car in the parking lot in high school right next to mine. Welcome, Haley.
Hello.
You guys, I forgot about that. It would stress me out so much.
Yep.
Because you guys had what did you have first period? Nothing.
Oh, we had bio together with, what was her name? The frog lady.
She was so sweet.
Yeah, too sweet.
Right, and she didn't care what time you showed up, but I had chemistry, and that lady was like,
that's right.
Oh, what was her
a
name?
time trunch ball.
And
she was like, I remember one day she said, for every minute you're late, I'm taking a point off your test.
Wow.
What?
And then
that is ADHD discrimination right there.
And
I'd be a 0.
And
Oh,
then
yeah, I
I
would've
would
failed out of
ride
high
with
school.
you guys, and I'm like, let's go, herding cats here.
Well, I don't give a shit, so
Yeah,
I'm just going to be late.
I physically couldn't. There's nothing I could do.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. Sorry.
I was late.
No, I know. That's why I was so stressed all the time, because I was like, I would like to get a good grade on this test, but I don't want to get 10 points off for being late.
But to be fair, you've been stressed about time since we were 7.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, before then.
by that point, I was like, shh, Kristen, I don't care anymore. So sorry, that was your fault. You burned me out on caring about getting you to school on time.
Out.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been stressed about getting on time to anything.
No.
Or if I am stressed, I still can't make it. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the stress doesn't help me. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Usually it helps me kind of get going, but no matter how much stress, I just can't get it going on time.
Doesn't help me, but I still am stressed.
Well, that's not a good coping mechanism.
Sorry we made you late for high school.
Yeah, sorry for all of high school.
I really am.
Haley, I am so excited to talk about your story and ADHD and specifically the school system. But first, do you guys want to get into our little accomplishments?
Yeah, let's do our little accomplishments.
All right.
Little accomplishments, but big in our hearts.
Yay.
Yay. All right.
Good. That was first time. I thought we were going to have to do multiple practices.
I mean, it's
Nice.
It's one sentence.
Go us.
Go us. That's a little accomplishment,
Little
I guess.
accomplishment.
Did it in
All
one
right,
take.
section's over. Let's move
on.
on.
No. Haley, what is your little accomplishment for the week?
All right. So mine is, I'm going to call it part 1
All right.
because I didn't fully accomplish the task, but I got it
You
started.
started.
That's all
there
right.
you go.
So my whole life, my grandfather gave me savings bonds. And I'm
I know. Okay, is that an old people thing?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
We got it in a little nut. We got these little nutcracker things on the Christmas tree, and he put one for all of us.
Oh. And you're like, great, a piece of paper. I don't know what this means.
As a kid, I was like, where's the toys?
Yeah. A bond? What
So
the fuck
useless.
is that?
Oh, good.
But apparently, it's some good money now.
I'm sure it is.
And everyone else has probably already cashed theirs, but I'm 31 and can't do something that takes any bit of extra effort. So my husband was like, all right, you need to cash these savings bonds. And
What is a savings bond? It's like in a bank account, and then
No, it's like a physical piece of paper.
so it's like
It looks
a check.
like a check, kind of, but then it like changes in value. Kristen, I don't know.
You're asking the wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know I had one because I cashed it out like as soon as I was like 18.
Yeah, you can do it as soon as you're 18.
Yeah.
They're
If
to,
you
like,
remember.
you're not 31.
If you
Already
don't
went to
forget
Right.
for 12 years.
You already went to college
Yeah.
when it was 4. But anyway, my husband was like begging me to do it because I have these savings bonds and it takes forever. I finally signed all of them, brought them to the
Ooh.
bank, was going to cash them, but they told me it would take an hour, so I left. But I did get there and I signed them all, and now I have them in my car. And when I have a free hour, I will. So it's
And you know what to do.
Nice.
right?
So you're more likely to do it.
Exactly. I know the
Nice.
process. I know how long it will take.
It's
I
like
know.
a practice.
Yeah,
Yes.
a practice run. You got yourself all set up.
Yep.
You know what to do now.
So I'm calling it part 1.
Congratulations.
I'll call in when it's part 2.
Yes,
but
let us
I
know.
was really proud of myself, and I was able to tell them I tried.
I did my best.
I went to the bank and they said an hour, and I didn't have an hour.
Well, congratulations. I'm
Yeah,
proud of you.
congratulations.
You know what? 31 years it took me to get to the bank.
Yeah.
There you go.
And you got to that bank.
Yeah, I did.
You didn't complete the task,
I
but
did.
you got to the
I
bank.
got there, and now I know if I have another hour someday,
Yeah.
I could do it again.
We have a spare
Someday.
hour. Really, it takes an hour to cash a check?
Yeah, she told me to take. She warned me because I was just going to do it, and she goes, "You do know this takes about an hour." She's probably like, "Get out of here."
Why? An hour?
I don't know.
Get it together, banks.
Right.
All right. Well, I am proud of you because even just figuring out, like, what do I even do? Where do I go? What do I say? Like, that is usually the hardest part to start a task.
Oh, I was so awkward about it. I was like, "Hi, I have these bonds." She's like, "Savings?
Help me.
Yeah. Basically, she's like, "Are they signed?" And I was like, "No." She goes, "Here's a pen. Go sign them all." Yeah.
Oh.
But I did it.
That makes me stressed just thinking about doing that.
I'm sweating. Yeah.
Oh, well, speaking of that, Ryan, well, so Haley's husband, Ryan, he's one of our infamous neurotypicals that we always talk about. We got to get him on the show. But he's also the one who is mine and Ian's financial advisor, or what is he?
He's a financial
Okay.
advisor.
I know there's like a couple different
Finance
terms for
guy.
him. He's the finance guy. But he wanted
Your FG.
he wanted me to get my login stuff for my Virginia retirement system from when I worked in Virginia for a year at the school system. I'm like, Ryan, I have no fucking idea where any of that is or what to even do with it. That's the least of my worries. Just like, let's make sure that I have enough money to pay my rent first. How about we
Right.
start there?
I'm talking to a homeowner's insurance guy, and he's like, we could probably bundle your car and auto. Can you tell me a couple things about your auto insurance? And I'm like, sure. And he's like, how much do you pay a month? And I have everything on auto pay. So I'm like, I don't know. He's like, well, what's your deductible? I don't know. What kind of policy is it? I don't know. Is it full coverage? I hope so. He's like, you need to figure these things
it's
out.
so
I'm like, I don't know
embarrassing.
these on the top of my. Who just has that information on hand?
Neurotypicals.
Ah,
Yeah, I don't have any of that. I was just thinking, who's my insurance provider? Phone
Who
Ryan.
knows?
Phone Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan must know.
Ryan has it written down.
Ooh, we could do a segment called Phone and Neurotypical.
Yes.
Ryan, what are stocks?
What are savings bonds?
Yes, really.
My mom actually gave them to him, and he had to like assign me to go bring them.
Oh, at least you got there.
It wouldn't have
There you
happened
go.
if I.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for sharing. I'm proud of you, Haley.
Thanks.
Grace, what'd you do this week? What's your little
Oh.
accomplishment?
My little accomplishment. So I started this weird gnome craft.
You did.
I'm making
Weird is an
weird
understatement.
gnome fountains. That's as far as I can go into detail right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to like oversell it and really set myself up and tell everyone about it and then just like lose interest in it because I've already gotten praise for telling people about it. So I'm trying to keep it under wraps, but I've been doing it for like a month and a half. I got this weird idea and I've stuck with it and I'm still working on it.
I'm really
And
proud of you.
I thought I would have given up by now because it's been a lot of stuff to like figure out, but I'm still doing it. And I made a lot of progress on my craft yesterday and I'm putting everything together and I almost have my first one.
Nice.
And then maybe I'll post some pictures once I make my first weird gnome fountain. But my little accomplishment is that I haven't given up on this hobby yet. And isn't that great?
I love it.
Nice.
My-
I'm proud of you.
My daughter's really into
I was
gnomes.
going to say, I saw you light up when I said gnomes.
Well, everyone in the neighborhood buys her gnomes, and
Oh.
she like goes around and collects them, moves them around. She has them like she has a little car, and she puts them in her cup holders,
Aw.
That's really
and
cute.
she can say gnomes.
Oh.
Yeah, and my mom has a gnome that she moves around her garden, and she looks for it.
your 1.5-year-old daughter and I both love gnomes, I guess.
I
We have
love
the
it. I was
same
going to say,
hobby.
when you're done, can I bring her over so she can see your gnome?
Well,
yeah.
they're inappropriate.
She
won't know.
It's
She's
like
one.
it's like a pissing fountain. I gave a bunch of them giant penises.
She won't know. She's one.
Well, then she might start setting her gnomes up that
Yeah.
way, and it's a slippery slope. But okay,
That's okay.
Yeah.
as long as you're fine with it.
I'm okay with it.
I'm calling them elegant piss fountains.
Where are you putting them?
Everywhere.
I'm gonna have one in my house, and then whoever else would like to have one, I guess, in their home. Other fellow freaks.
I love it.
Yeah, thanks.
Can I get put on the list?
Absolutely. Put you on the
Nice.
list. All right, Kristen.
Yeah.
What was your little accomplishment?
This morning, I ordered Snickers' Loft. So
Snickers is
Snickers. I ordered medication for my cat so she could not have anxiety.
woohoo.
Woo!
Yay.
So what does Marcus Parks say about from last podcast?
It's
on
not your
Loft?
fault, but it is your responsibility.
Right.
And you're saying that to Snickers, your cat.
It's not
her
your fault, but it's my responsibility.
Just change the
Aw.
saying a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well-
Because she is my responsibility. Did I give her
Yes.
that today? No.
But
I
you
forgot.
ordered them.
I ordered it, but I forgot to give it to her today, along with her probiotics. So we're gonna have some loose stools later.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll say just like Haley's, you accomplished the first part of
First
that.
part,
Yeah, you
part
did.
one.
Part one.
There you go.
Check.
Check.
All right. A
Part
couple
two
of-
in the works.
Yep. We'll follow up. No,
Yep.
I won't. I won't remember.
No, that's all right.
All right.
All right.
Then that was little accomplishments.
There we go.
We all
right.
did something.
There we go. Proud of us all.
Yep.
Here we go. Haley, you are newly suspected, correct?
Of
Yes.
having ADHD.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
I have the
a new sus.
yeah. I have the forms.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. You even have an appointment.
Yes.
You're a teacher and you do this a lot with your kids, right?
Yes. The adult one's a little bit different. But
Okay.
yes, I have the forms, the self-evaluation of the ADHD,
Mm-hmm.
adult ADHD is what it's titled.
Oh.
Yes. So I am newly suspected and I am working on a diagnosis. Still don't know what I want to do if I get it or when, I guess.
Yeah,
When I
yeah.
get it.
You'll get it. If they know what they're doing, you'll get it.
Yeah.
If the form is telling me anything, I'm going to have it.
Yes. Yeah. Do you think you want to explore medication, or you think you just want to like have kind of some answers at least?
I feel like I'm not sure if I want to have medication or not. I go back and forth. I definitely want to have some answers and kind of like see if I can find more resources. Although I feel like even just suspecting it, I've already started to do that and just recognize things within myself that I can work on, or things that I can just be like, oh, that's because I have ADHD and I need to stop beating myself up for that. So I feel like for me, that's honestly a big part of it is just knowing. But I'm not opposed to ADHD medication. I have been offered anxiety medication, which I now know may not do what it needs to because that's not really the root of the problem.
And also because you're probably using anxiety as a maladaptive
Yes.
coping strategy to get yourself to get stuff done.
It's 100% successful. No, it's not.
100%. You're giving yourself a 100% success rate?
It's
Really?
40% successful.
I was going to say, wow, you
It's
master.
40
Yeah.
to 100% successful.
Yeah.
I would say 40 to 45%.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Should we go back to like the early parts of your life and
Let's
just
go
kind
back to the womb.
Yeah, let's just travel all the way
All
back
right.
to the womb.
All the way back to the womb.
We're floating
You're
around.
crowning. You're crowning.
September 25th,
Yeah.
1990.
It's a girl. All right, and then from then on, what are some things that, like, looking back throughout your life as a child and also as an adult, that now looking at it through the lens of ADHD, you are highly suspicious, or you recognize these traits as like, oh, that was obviously ADHD.
Yeah, I think now that I'm realizing I have ADHD, I think I've described my life as like this giant puzzle that is now coming together. And it's like, oh, that's why that was so hard for me, or that's why I felt like everyone could do that and I couldn't. I would say I had this defining moment in elementary school, and I remember it being in math class, and math was really hard for me to see a lesson or to have a lesson, understand it, and then know what to do. And I remember once just sitting there and all the other kids were watching and learning. And I remember just looking around the room and being like, wow, imagine if you could just know what the teacher was saying and then know how to go do it. Like I couldn't even fathom being able to do that.
So sad.
What a gift.
And I had to, right? And like, I didn't realize that like that was everybody else. And I spent my whole childhood asking for extra help, learning from my friends. And I think I was a little advocate for myself in that way, and that I always got through and I always got good grades and I always figured it out because I always found ways around things to learn and to get there. But like it was so much harder for me than everybody else.
Well, fun fact, Haley and I were in the same special reading group.
Mrs. Getchell.
Yes.
You all know Mrs. Getchell.
Right?
I was in that reading group too. And
Yeah.
I distinctly remember
In the
being
basement.
Yeah, in the basement.
Yeah.
Shamed into going down there.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, wow, I can read just fine. Like, why am I down here? And I now know that it was because I would read a rock star reader, and then Mrs. Getchell would probably be like, okay, tell us what happened. No clue.
Yeah.
Absolutely no clue.
Also, she gave us the most boring books. Remember the one
Right.
about someone picking oranges? And I was like, why does this matter?
Right.
So boring.
Right. And unless it was something that like really captured my interest. I mean, I didn't even know you were supposed to read to understand. Like I didn't like, right. Like
I know exactly what you're talking
Right.
about because I totally get that. Like when we took all the standardized tests, like the MEAs,
yeah.
and they're always like, what's the theme or what's the basic concept? And I'm like, I don't know. I just read it.
Right. That's how I would feel. I'd be
Right?
like,
Got all the words.
The word is
Right?
tree.
Yeah.
I got nothing
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Right.
Read the word.
And I remember, so my mom uses this, and I was saying how I wish like she had looked into this more. I apparently said to her, like, why would anyone read for pleasure? Like, I couldn't understand like how, like, I thought it was just something you had to learn how to do, and there was no like you didn't get anything from it. And I don't know, I just don't know how that was overlooked as, oh, she just doesn't like to read.
Yeah, as opposed to like, no, you're not getting the comprehension of it. And that's the whole fun part of reading. It's not like identifying that these 4 letters together make this word. It's understanding the context of like what you're reading. So of course you didn't want to read for fun because reading wasn't fun for you. You weren't comprehending it.
No, I was just reading and thinking about other things.
Yeah.
All the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
No idea what I was reading. I'd like read through the whole page and be thinking about like what I was going to get into trouble with at recess. Like
But I feel like you always did well in school. Like you always got good grades.
Yes, I did. I always got good grades. I was a tremendous masker. I found ways around everything, got extra help.
As your help, hold on. You sat between me and Catherine O'Neill in math class and copied off both of our tests.
Yeah,
and got a better grade
that's
than
what I
both
mean.
of us.
Extra help.
That's what I mean. Like
I remember being so mad because you sat in between us and then just combined our tests and got a better grade.
Kristen,
Strategy.
I used every single person. I made friends with everyone to get through everything. My dad helped me, like, but then he would get kind of mean about it when I wouldn't understand. But my dad helped me with a lot of stuff. I would talk to, I bullshitted my way through school.
Same. We got in trouble in 3rd grade because I let you cheat off my spelling test.
And everyone, like, I don't know if you felt bad for me or I was convincing. I don't know. Everyone helped me.
I didn't give a shit. I never cared about letting, because I was also cheating off other people in other areas, so I didn't care. I'm like, yeah, I'll let you cheat off me. I don't give a shit.
But I was probably so desperate, like, I don't know what it means.
Yes,
And
yeah.
people felt that. I don't know.
I just wanted to help. I'm like, yeah, I'll help you.
Yeah, socially, I just got through it all. And now I'm a teacher.
I know. Yeah, I feel like you are much shyer than people realize. I feel like, I don't know if it's just because of how you were masking and because, you did sports, that people just assume that you are one way when really I just see you as totally, you do have a good mask because you're totally different than like, I feel like what outsiders think of you or think you are.
Right. And I think definitely people's first impressions too. Same thing. They're like, oh, you're this way. And then they're like, wow, you're really not like that at all.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the mask is good.
Yeah.
But I mean, masking is, good. There's positives and negatives to that, being good at masking, because then you don't get that help that you need because you're not being an obvious behavior,
Right. I definitely was not. And I was able to self-control myself to a point where it would like drive me insane. Like I remember sitting there being like, if we don't end this lesson, I'm going to crawl out of my skin. Like I can't do this. But I still wouldn't behave poorly. Like I wouldn't lash out or anything. I just took it.
Just all internalized.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you've talked about how you think you have inattentive type, possibly combined type, but for the most part, you've been looking into inattentive type. And they say that inattentive type is hyperactivity of the mind, where it very much goes inward.
Yes.
That.
Yeah, I would say that is me. And then, yeah, the hyperactivity kind of is newer. I feel like at first I was like, oh, inattentive, like that is me. And it is. My brain is always going. And like my husband says, he's like, you're in and out of thoughts and no one can keep up.
Yep.
He's like, I never know. He always goes, all right, rewind, catch me up, because he never knows. I'll just say one thing and then
It's that nonlinear thinking.
Yes.
It just brings you from one thought to the other. And to us, it's totally connected. But for a neurotypical like Ryan, I'm sure he's like, where the fuck did you get that?
That's what, yeah. So, yeah. Catch me up. Now he just knows.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ryan.
We got too many thoughts going on.
Yep.
So when did you start realizing like maybe this isn't anxiety, maybe this isn't just me, maybe this is ADHD? And when did you start really looking into ADHD?
Well, my good friend Grace actually texted me and was like, we were talking about, I was asking you about what you were doing and you were talking about ADHD and you were just kind of like, hey, like I had ADHD growing up and I feel like you maybe did too.
But I feel like even then, I think you were the one to point it out because you really were not someone for me that I thought of immediately as like, oh, well, obviously this person has ADHD. I feel like you didn't pop into my mind immediately because of the inattentiveness where I was like, but Haley was always like so good in class and I was not. So I think in my mind, I was like, oh, well, that must be different. But then as we talked about it more and I thought about it, because you and I were so similar growing up, even though we're different people, I feel like a lot of our behaviors look so similar. And then as I thought about it more, and then
I
I
was like an outsider between this two.
Everyone called us husband and wife in high school.
You guys were like attached at the hip.
Yeah. And so even though our behaviors outwardly looked different to, I'm sure teachers, I was kind of a troublemaker and you were a good kid, but like if you,
I was going to say,
well,
both
good-ish.
troublemakers.
Together, definitely
Yeah, so whenever we had a
troublemakers.
class together, we were troublemakers.
It was a nightmare for
But
anyone.
what was that class? Journalism?
Yep.
Where
Miss
you got
Gasha, what's
kicked
up, Miss Gasha?
regularly.
Fuck you.
Yeah,
I
not-
remember
not a
meeting
fan.
up with you after class, and you're like, "Yeah, we've been out for a while. She kicked us out early."
Yeah, we had to go sit in the hall when they would film things.
Yeah, because we couldn't be trusted not to speak.
She didn't even give us a chance, although that was probably right on her part. But I feel like when you and I first started talking about it, Haley, on, because of there's still that stereotype of the hyperactivity in the little boy. So even as I was learning about it, I wasn't immediately thinking of you. And then as we started talking about some of those traits, like the executive function, the social skills, things like that, I was like, wait a minute, Haley is exactly like me in all these ways. And then I feel like you really just took off with it. Like you also had that light bulb moment where you were like, oh my God. And then, I feel like you also really pursued that and you've been learning about it and talking about it with people. And you've, it's led to you helping kids in your class who you identify as ADHD. And so I feel like you've really kind of taken off with it.
Yeah, I've diagnosed my entire family.
I have as well. I've diagnosed your entire family.
Yeah, I think that once we kind of talked about it and once I started to really understand inattentive, because what's crazy is being a teacher, I never really even knew what that was. And I actually had a student come to me and was struggling with reading, very similar to me. And then her mom got her diagnosed with inattentive ADHD. And I remember I met this student. She just had the diagnosis. And I was like, oh my God, this is me. And I have connected with this child so much. And it was kind of like, again, like another light bulb moment, like, you have the diagnosis. I now see it in a student, and this is the kind of learner that I was.
And what grade are you teaching again?
I was in third grade.
Third grade.
I loop, so I do third and fourth. But I was in third grade when this happened.
Okay.
I wasn't in third grade. I was teaching third grade.
I would hope
I
not.
was in third grade.
This stuff was happening when I was in third grade, but no one knew what it was. And I also, another piece of it too, is when we were talking about, I guess I also did not know that ADHD is inherited. I didn't know that it was genetic. And the moment I learned that, and we call my mother Squirrel,
Yes.
it became very apparent that my mother has it, possibly my dad, and then so on and so forth. My sister actually just got a diagnosis too.
Yay.
So yeah, she's
Yay, Emily.
Yeah, so Emily, yay.
Congratulations.
She's pursuing it as well. We went back and forth for a while. Me following a million ADHD pages on Instagram and tagging her in every single one, being like, this is us. And so she also pursued it, which I'm really happy for her because she was a little bit lost. And I think that kind of gave her some clarity too. So yeah.
That's so wonderful to hear.
Yes.
So you've been doing a lot of online research and a lot of self-research and internal reflection. What have you tried anything? If so, has it worked?
Like strategies?
Like strategies and anything that you found that like works to help with like either executive dysfunction or like a motivation or...
I guess for me, I've done a lot of lists or planning, or I try and just organize my thoughts ahead of time. Like, what do I need to get done and try and make like a priority? And then a lot of things I've for me, really, it was causing a lot of stress. And I think the biggest thing for me is just learning to let some things go and be like, oh, I didn't get that done today. It's not my fault. And so I think that was a lot of that was making me anxious, is that I felt like I had to do all of these things, and learning about it kind of made me realize there's nothing I can do to change the way my brain is working. So I need to kind of forgive myself instead.
Aw.
And so that's been a big piece of it for me, more than I think strategies. It's more like, because I had a lot of strategies, because like I was functioning, I was employed, like I was managing.
I know the fact that you're a classroom teacher, like I feel like I do not have the executive
so much
functioning
organizational skills needed, and planning skills needed, and executive function skills.
And so it's impressive that you've been able to kind of come up with something that works for you even before you understood you have ADHD. And I know you don't naturally have great organizational, time management, executive functioning skills.
No.
But it seems like you have been able, you've been a teacher for what, like 6 years or
10 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I
Wait,
guess we graduated
really?
college a long time ago.
Oh, man.
I got my first
feeling
teaching job at
old.
21.
Yeah. So, 10 years ago, you had no idea you had ADHD, but still, the fact that you're even still teaching now, I left after 3.5. So you've clearly been able to put some things in place for yourself.
Yeah, and I think it kind of also all came not all came unraveled, but like this realization came. I had a baby, and so I was able to function with like, okay, I am at work, and these are my home duties, and I was like very much like, these are what I need to get done. This is my routine, and then you throw a kid in, and it just kind of like derailed the system, and that's when I was like kind of flailing. This is the first year I felt like I was flailing, and yeah,
taken until now. I applaud you for that, because teaching is. There's so much planning involved, and even when you're not there, you have to have a plan, right? You have to have a substitution plan and stuff, and all that.
Put on a movie.
But I think that's
emergency plans. Yeah,
I'm just like overwhelmed with the amount of responsibility. You're responsible for like 30 little kids,
and now your own little kid, and
you, and me, and like, well, that was before. I was like, okay, I can take care of me. I can take care of my classroom when I'm there, and then you add on another person. And I was like, I don't have the skills for this. But Kristen, I also would say that I do like the minimum. Like I'm like, what can I get by with this? And then I put my focus into other parts of teaching. Like I love building relationships with kids, and like that's to me the other parts, like the paperworky part, that I definitely do. Like I get by. That sort of piece of it.
I am very similar with patients in healthcare. I love building connections and seeing them. I like the technical part, whether it's surgery or dressing changes or whatever. And then when it gets to documentation, I'm like, I'll get there.
Right. Yeah, like I can get into a lesson, I can teach, I get it. I feel like I'm an exciting person. I'm very animated and emotional and everything. And kids are always like really interested, and I can tell when kids are bored, and I'm looking for that because I know I was tortured as a kid. And so that works really well for me. But it's the other stuff that is hard, like the professional development parts or like recertification is like that sort of thing. Like what classes have you taken? Like keeping track of it, having a system for keeping track of that sort of thing.
Because it's like adding additional things in where it's like I can sometimes figure out how to manage all this work. I have this amount of work, whether a speech therapist or a teacher, I have to manage this. And okay, I figure out how to come up with a system. Then you want me independently to think of other things that I have to add, and I have to like seek it out and add more stuff. It's like, no, I'm barely making it as it is. I'm not going to like go out of my way to take another personal development class. Like, fuck that.
Right. I'm doing what I can do to survive. Right. And you want me to, on my own, come up with something else.
Yes.
Absolutely not going to happen.
You're lucky I haven't gotten the school sued because of a late IEP or whatever,
Geez.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like when I'm working, this is also why I like never check my emails or anything, because like I'm working with patients, I'm doing my notes, I'm ordering stuff. I'm not like, well, let me hop on email and see, the pharmacy newsletter, I'm not, there's no way.
Don't send me a newsletter. I will never read it.
Never read it. Or let me jump on Teams and like respond in this meeting chat, there's no way. I'm with the patients. I'm doing patient care. I have my patient care hat on. And then when I get home, I have my Kristen hat on, and then there's no other hats. That's all the hats.
You have the hats.
That's all my hats. You want me to put on a professional development hat, or let me help manage the vascular department hat? No. They would never ask me anyway.
Good.
They know.
Right. I never get asked to do
they're not going to ask me to join a committee.
Oh my gosh, right. We had an end of the year survey that we took, and one of the questions was like, does your principal give you extra responsibility? And I was like, no. And I would be so upset if he did.
He's so upset.
And he knows that.
And it was like a question like, yes, like you get extra. Who wants that?
Who's excited for, I can't wait to have to send out a bajillion emails to be a part of this team.
I want more on my plate.
This extracurricular
Give me
team.
more tasks so I feel important.
Yes.
Nope.
No, thank you.
I'll be hiding in my room.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Haley, we want to hear about your, I don't want to just say biggest struggle. Let's say biggest struggles and biggest strengths. So maybe struggles and strengths.
All right. Well, I guess I should have thought more about strengths. I was thinking that. I asked my husband to help me come up with the list, and he rattled the list off so fast. It was embarrassing.
Of your struggles?
Yeah,
He's
I was
like this and
I've been waiting for this moment.
I was like, Ryan, what?
Let me make an Excel spreadsheet.
So yeah, what ADHD qualities do I have? He goes, they just rattled them right off. I'm like, okay, I don't have to be upset. And he's like, well, you asked. I'm like, okay. I would definitely say for me, like lack of focus on anything I'm not super excited about. Like if it is something that I have little interest in, or like I'm not super excited, I can't. Like I will get derailed. I'll do anything to avoid it and can't do it.
Same.
And then I talked about a little before, like the thought. Like I'm not a linear thinker. I'm all over the place, and no one can follow my thoughts. And yeah, I just keep going and. Stuff comes up.
No bubble.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
But I also see your nonlinear thinking as a strength as well on the flip side, because I think it leads to a lot of your creativity and your ability to understand kids' needs and like, pay attention to a kid's body language and see, what they're needing in the classroom and your unique, funny ideas that you come up with. And so I also see the nonlinear thinking, as definitely a super strength as well.
Right. It didn't, not to toot Grace's horn, but Grace was just on a really fancy podcast called ADHD for Smart-Ass Women by Tracy Otsuka.
And I don't know if it's fancy. It's just much bigger than ours.
Yeah. So, which is like, woo, proud of you. But I think Tracy was talking about how she thinks that teachers with ADHD and neurodivergencies often, or she thinks makes the best teachers, because you're bringing in a whole nother element that isn't just like, this is the book and we go by the book. Right. And you're able to like recognize, different needs. And not saying that neurotypical teachers can't, but I think you just have a whole different experience to offer these kids who would probably very much appreciate that.
Yeah, I definitely think.
I wish you were my teacher.
I do,
Miss Getchell.
I do think that, and I think I can recognize when kids are struggling, and I could help when kids are not linear thinkers. I'm able to follow their thought process and help them come up with things and help them problem solve in a way that wouldn't necessarily be the standard way or what's expected. And I'm also very flexible. When I got a shout out from my vice principal about that, she did a thing to describe me because I'm very flexible with what I accept from children. I don't think there's like one way to do something. And that's because my brain is all over the place, that I like to follow. And I get really excited when they do things differently because I think that's the way they think.
Remember when I used to help in your classroom?
Yes.
And you had me grade some papers and I was like, it's wrong. And you're like, no.
I know.
They're in third grade.
It's probably to a fault. I also remember I was doing like times table tests and you hated my system and redid the whole thing because it was so bad. It was so poorly organized. You're like, I can't do this.
My thing is, once I make a system, even if it's a really inefficient system, that's my system.
I forget what it was, but I remember it being very inefficient.
Yes, they weren't in order.
That was the system.
I knew where things were, and you're like, I can't, and I let you do it. If someone offers, like, if I have kids who want to organize things, I'm always like, go for it. Like, I'd rather have you do it.
I think it's easier to organize other people's stuff from an outside perspective rather than your own.
Yeah.
So you're like attached to it.
I agree.
Right. I guess what we were going. We all
greatest strength.
Okay. My greatest
strengths and
struggles.
You're a great teacher.
Yeah, thank you. I guess that goes into like the feeling emotions. Like I feel emotions very strongly. My entire family does. But I also think that helps me recognize and kind of empathize with kids when they do that, when they have emotions. And my daughter has very strong emotions.
And I can't wait to meet her.
Oh, she's a wild one. We're flagging her for ADHD.
Yeah,
already.
Not to informally diagnose your daughter with ADHD, but dear God, that girl is ADHD.
Yeah, we all. Yeah. Anyway, she's a tantrum thrower, and she's very strong emotions. And I feel like I'm pretty patient and equipped to handle it without getting mad. That's another thing I've been complimented on, I guess, as a teacher, if I'm trying to think of good things, is my patience.
You are very patient.
Very
So
patient
patient.
with kids. And I understand, because I think it all comes from my learning and my struggles and frustrations and not being able to voice them, that when kids actually voice them, I'm very understanding of it. But other things that I really struggle with for me was anxiety. And actually, after I had Charlotte, I really, really struggled with anxiety and actually went to the doctor for it and found out that postpartum anxiety is actually more common than postpartum depression.
Whoa.
So I did not know that, but I
didn't know that
also
either.
feel like she said people who have anxiety before, so probably ADHDers who have anxiety, that's a really good thing to know. And I had no clue. So she actually gave me some names of therapists I could go to.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But honestly, just knowing that postpartum anxiety is a thing helped
Yeah.
me be like, oh, I'm not losing my mind thinking one of
Right.
us is dying every single day.
Well, I think there's well, we can talk about this all day, but there's such a pressure on new moms, especially in the United States. It's like you've got to, you've just been through this huge, 9-month, I'm not going to say it's traumatic, but you've been through, and this
It
is
was
me.
traumatic. You can say it.
As someone who's never been pregnant and doesn't intend to, you've been through this big traumatic thing. You have this creature growing inside you, and now they are out, and they're very demanding of your time, your energy, but now you're automatically expected. The next questions are always like, when are you going to get back to work? Are you going to go work out, get your body back? Are you a good mother? Are you going to put him in preschool? Are you going to, there's all these questions. You're like, shut the fuck up. I just gave life.
And I also feel like because, like you said, because we know that anxiety when you have ADHD is so deeply intertwined, where when you have unmanaged ADHD, you'll feel like you're always falling behind, you're always missing something, you're always forgetting something. And then you have the huge hormonal swing of being pregnant and then giving birth,
and now you're responsible for life.
Yeah, so now it's even more stuff that you have to keep track of. So no wonder your anxiety would be totally escalated between the hormones and the new baby and new things that now you have to manage your own executive functioning and executive functioning for a little baby.
I would say,
of course you're going to be anxious.
Right. I would say it would be weird not to be depressed or anxious after a baby. And this is once again coming from someone who's never been pregnant and doesn't intend to. So these are just ramblings of someone who doesn't know anything.
Right. Well, you're dead on.
I
nailed
think
it.
it'd be crazy not to have it's someone who's just everything's fine and it's totally fine and I don't feel societal pressures at all and I just had a baby, especially your first one.
It's not fine. If you have ADHD and you're a working mom, it's so hard.
Way. There's no way.
So that's part of when I realized that I had ADHD too, was when that all came and I just had I struggle with another one on my list, executive functioning. I struggle with that anyway if I don't have a routine and a baby comes and just derails every routine that you've ever had in your whole life.
Right.
Yep.
And I think that's, I was reading somewhere, was it Attitude Magazine? Maybe.
I don't know what you're going to say.
Well, with adult ADHD, especially in women, because the symptoms don't really appear as it's not your typical, what did Christopher call it? A bouncing baby boy? You're not a bouncy baby boy. You're not like the typical hyperactive male. It's all these internal symptoms. And what happens is that they figure it out. It's usually when either these big life events where all of a sudden your responsibilities are more and the pressure is more, that's when all of the symptoms come out. So people who just go to college for the first time, people who, they've graduated college, they have their first big time job and they're responsible for bills, or they've just had a child, that's when all their symptoms, they start to recognize these symptoms because traits, sorry.
Not symptoms. It's not a disease that we're dying of.
Traits. They recognize all these traits and they, all the things are piling up and it's impossible for them or barely possible for them to keep up without the necessary supports. And that's how they get diagnosed or how they get suspicious and start looking into things like ADHD because, for when it's a few things like, oh, I have college and then I have a part-time job, but now, you know, you're responsible for so much more and it's just too much.
And that's what happened when COVID hit, is that people who are holding it, like me, people who are holding it together, somehow making it work, you know, day-to-day life, just trying to like get through every day, and you were like kind of keeping it together. And then COVID comes along and totally changes everything. Even like me and you, Haley, having to go from being in the classroom where you really don't have to plan as much because you're in the moment, you can kind of, you know, go with the flow with the kid. But once you have to go to video and now you're in your house and you have to like, and the parents there too, and you have to make these videos and do these sessions with kids. I was so fucking awkward. I just felt like, how did I even become a speech therapist? I feel like I don't know this stuff. I guess when I'm in the classroom, it's just like, I'm just going with what I know. And then once you put me in a different context, it's like everything fell apart for me.
Right. And I was the one that I feed off the kids.
Yeah.
I depend on the kid, like not depend on them, but like a lot of mine is I do a lot of discussion based. So when you have me up there trying to create a lesson like it's a speech.
Yeah, like a planned
my
thing.
God.
Yeah.
It was so horrible to watch.
I felt so awkward.
It was terrible.
Like I feel awkward around like a 5-year-old, but I'm like, all right, well, like why?
Please don't make fun of me.
Yeah, don't laugh at me, 5-year-old.
They're like tweeting.
Don't write in the comments on my
Person
YouTube.
sucks. Don't tell your mom.
Just turn it off. Put me on mute. Yeah. But yeah, that was like, I think you're exactly right, Kristen. Like my life was so routine. Because always you have like, you take care of yourself and then your job, which was school growing up.
Right.
And then my job. And then for me, I was like, okay, I know school, so I'm going to become a teacher because that's something that I know. And then having a baby was the first thing in my life that was like, I don't know this. I can't handle this at all.
Yeah, no experience with that before.
Right. And you're just thrown in.
Yep.
And then ADHD just spiraled, anxiety spiraled.
I can't even imagine. And I don't, we have different life paths, but I give you a lot of credit because I think that's incredibly difficult.
Thank you. And I'm here. So I figured it out.
Yeah.
We've
You're
found our
doing
way.
great. You're
I'm proud of
thriving.
you.
Thriving.
Again, I think just the diagnosis and being able to forgive my behaviors and understand why. The big, like, why am I doing things? Why is this hard for me has been really helpful. And like, why am I feeling like I'm going to die every day? Oh, it's postpartum anxiety. Like there's a name for it. Made me just feel so much better. And like, oh, I can manage this because there's a reason.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And that's that's why I want to let everyone know, everyone who does have ADHD, I want them to just know, just simply for even the fact that you can forgive yourself and like, oh, that's why I do that stuff. Another thing that I thought of for you growing up, I just thought of this. Your sensory needs. Oh God, if Haley was hungry, she's no, you don't understand. I'm the hungriest person who's ever lived. Oh, if Haley's too hot, no, you don't get it. I am the hottest person to ever be. And you were always like very dramatic about
the most tired person.
Yes. You were always kind of a one-upper when it came to your sensory needs. But now, like I see you as like, no, you just have really intense sensory needs and you didn't really understand what was going on. So you really were the hottest person in the room because you have such sensitive needs.
If I remember we went on a family vacation to Washington, D.C. and it was like 90 degrees and I'm the oldest, so I should have been the one who could handle it. My parents said I made the trip a nightmare because I was hot the entire time. I just begged for ice cream like a 2-year-old. I want to take breaks and sit on the bench. Like I could not handle the heat. Meanwhile, my little brother Griffin was like 3 walking all around D.C. without a complaint. And I was like, it's so hot. Why are we here?
Well, I remember coming back from a family vacation with you from Pennsylvania because I used to go on family vacations with Haley's family. And it was me and you and your little sister Emily in the back seat. And she was like, 2 or whatever. And so she was in a car seat and you and I were on either side of the car seat and it was like hot and we were in the very back of the minivan and I get car sick. And I just remember like, I need to get the fuck out of here. It like is burned so vividly in my memory of just like, I felt like I was going to explode. I can't believe I held it together and that you didn't know about it until now.
Yeah. I feel like that happens often to me where I'll have these like, I feel like I'm going to explode moments and I don't know how I hold it together. And it is sensory needs. And speaking of that, I also realized this is so crazy that I just realized this the other day. Like, not the other day, like pretty recently though, that I bite the inside of my cheeks when I'm like stressed.
Ow. Ow.
I don't even
it's
like
a stim. That's a stim.
Like, cheeks like torn up. I
Not
hate when
really.
I bite. When you accidentally bite your, I guess I have like no pain tolerance because if I ever like accidentally bite my tongue or the side of my cheek, I am just a blubber of pain.
But
like,
this is more like a purposeful gnaw, right?
It's like
it's like I don't know. I like bite down and I don't realize I'm doing it until I'm doing it. And like I was riding in the car and I was like, oh, I should stop this. Like if we got in an accident, I'd like bite my cheeks off.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to stop. I
I know
do
she's
it like
totally fine except for these 2 craters in her
Yeah, these
cheeks.
bizarre injuries.
I
on her
know, but I
cheeks.
do it and I don't
With
know.
aliens.
Well, you're also like not a nail biter like I
No,
am,
I'm
so
not.
that's probably where your like need to bite or whatever just went internal
I just
yet
like
again.
bite in my I bite and I hold on to it, and especially like when I'm driving or when I'm stressed or just sitting there. Like if I'm sitting there reading emails, I'll start like bite. I don't like bite down all the way, Kristen. I don't like eat my cheeks. I just like I don't know the like pressure of it, and I don't realize I'm doing it until I stop. Until I'm like, oh my god, stop! Why are you doing this? I don't know. That's the sensory need, and then need the fidget. It's my other one, but
Yes,
We both
Yeah.
have fidget toys.
yeah,
right
we're
now.
all very
We're
fidgety.
I
I
was so
feel like.
thankful for these, especially when I'm anxious or worried.
Yep. Oh,
Not that I am.
pick my nails. Yeah, so bad.
My
My ADHD diagnosed sister and my dad and my whole family picks something. Griffin pulls his hair. I don't know.
Yes. Okay, so skin picking is a really
Oh, I do that.
yes.
Yeah,
Skin picking, the hair pulling. There's a word for it.
Trichophilia. Nope.
No, but
I gotta
that's
look
right.
it up.
No,
Hold on.
we're almost out of time
Okay.
for this.
Cue the
first.
music.
Tracy just did an episode on it.
Trichomoniasis is a parasitic infection. That's not what I want.
That's not
So
what I have.
they're called repetitive, like body-based behaviors or something. Repetitive body-focused behaviors is what that's referred to. Whether it's the hair picking, cheek biting, hair pulling. Did I say hair biting?
No.
Hair biting could be one. You just bite your hair.
Chewing your hair.
Yeah,
I did
chewing
that.
on your hair. Yeah,
I did that as a kid.
Yeah, you were a big hair chewer. That's right. So that's all stimming. That's
Yeah.
all seeking.
Trichotillomania.
Sure.
And the hair pulling, I've had kids in my class pull their hair out. I had one kid where I like had to keep track of how many times a day he did it.
I
that
used
was
to pull all
something
my
I'm not good
eyelashes
at.
and eyebrows off.
Oh.
Yeah. That wasn't fun.
No.
Your eyelashes? Oh,
Yeah,
no.
my eyelashes, and then in college,
You
know
pulled your
how
hair
I, like-
out.
Yeah, I had like I had a little bald spot from pulling out all my hair in the back of my head.
What were you saying about that 100% success rate with your anxiety?
100% successful.
Just don't look at the back of my head.
Success story of the year right here.
Yep. So well
I'm
managed.
I'm balding a little bit. No, it grew back.
Yep.
Trichotillomania.
I have no eyelashes.
The eyelashes also grew back. The eyebrows did not.
That's why I have pencils.
got eyebrows.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you. I work really hard on my eyebrows. My drawn-on eyebrows.
They look nice.
Thank you.
All right, let's do a few. I want to hear a few more of your strengths, and then we will wind down
Oh,
this
no.
first part. This happens like every recording.
You can
It's
edit that one
Kristen
out.
exploding a fidget or losing a fidget or
Oh.
I have the fidgets, but the fidgets don't have me.
sure.
You can edit that one out.
I might leave it. I kind of like it. All right. Are you having trouble thinking of more strengths for yourself?
It's kind of hard, but I know I have them.
Yes.
I have strengths for Haley.
We don't care about your own
No,
personal strengths.
I got one.
That
I'm
I
just kidding.
see in Haley.
Oh, well, I have some strengths. Does anyone want to ask me?
I was like, okay, you can take my strengths.
for you.
I think Haley, and maybe she already talked about this. You're very compassionate towards your kids because I've been in the classroom and boy, did you have some nightmare children sometimes, and you're always like, he's just misunderstood, or like, oh,
Yes.
he's just a sweet little. I'm like, he's literally eating the drywall. But like, or that time that kid got upset because he couldn't take a dead fly home from the field trip.
Yes, that goes my patience again. Patience, and I do love them all, probably to a fault. Like I love them too much. Yes.
But I think you were just so patient and compassionate and always like willing to give your kids the benefit of the doubt, which I think, especially now in these unprecedented times, is needed.
I think, I'm working with kids. Social emotional is something I feel like I'm really good at. And I kind of have been putting in front of other things, which now finally is being recognized as important. And I've been like, I've been doing that all along. So I guess that's good.
Oh, children's social and emotional needs are finally deemed important.
Right.
That's
Great.
that's like the biggest signifier of intelligence is your emotional intelligence. It doesn't matter how well you can memorize a standardized blah, blah, blah. It's your emotional intelligence.
And luckily for me, I work with my team. The teacher who teaches next to me always says that. She says, I don't care. You're not going to remember what you learned in third grade, but you learn to be a kind person and you learn to kind of regulate your emotions and be able to function in a classroom. And that's super important. So yeah, that would be, and I guess if I was thinking of another strength.
They don't teach that on the MEAs.
They don't teach that. They don't measure it, and they don't measure how far kids have come. Like these kids that I had that hadn't been in school since first grade, and I got them in third grade, and I had to reteach them. I was like, okay, go work in partners. They did not know how to work in partners. So we had to take a long time to like learn how to do that. But another skill I think I have, I can talk to anybody, make conversation with anybody, and just kind of, I don't know, have fun wherever anybody, I don't know.
You do make your own fun.
I do make my own fun.
You do.
I can chat with anybody and make things interesting. Like the other day I got blood work and I hate that. And so I told the woman that if she just talked to me, I could get through it. So we started chatting, and then the people next to us were chatting, and then the whole place started joining in, and we were having this big, massive conversation just because I came in and decided to liven up the phlebotomist day.
Oh, big day of the phlebotomist.
Yeah, this little old man was telling me about his wife's labor, and it was crazy.
Oh, man.
So I think that's another, I guess some people will be like, oh my God, stop talking. But I think
it depends on the context. I like when it's like that type of convo where it's like this random group of people and everyone's kind of joining in.
Yeah.
I see another strength of yours is that you are very good at things right away. You're one of those where
your whole family
like sports
and stupid. No, it's not stupid.
You're all so fucking athletic.
Yeah, it's so infuriating because you're just like, hey, here's a new sport, and you're like, let me just pick it up, and then you're like an instant pro.
But it's also funny because growing up, you were not very good at sports when we were like little kids, right? Like 5 or 6.
Right.
One of your parents like, oh, well, she's not going to be an athlete.
Yeah, not our thing. They signed me up for soccer, and I was the worst kid by like a lot.
Which is so crazy because then you became like an amazing athlete. But what I think happened is that I think I was more naturally good at things like when I was little than you were. But because of that, I was kind of like, well, I don't need to practice. I'm just good at these skills. And so I think over time, you like really surpassed me because you developed such a great work ethic where you really do have such a good work ethic with things like that, and you worked really hard at it. And then by the time we got to high school, it's like, you were a much better athlete than I was because I kind of like peaked in middle school when it came to that. But you always
grew
worked
out of being good at sports.
Yes, because I just like was like, all right, that's it. I've learned all the skills I need, and then didn't try to learn more. So I feel like you are both naturally good at things, and you're a very hard worker at it, which is you kind of need the combo.
Yeah. Yeah,
1-2
I'll give
punch.
that one. And then I think that like the few times I tried things that didn't go well, I just quit.
Yeah. I was actually just talking about that, where I'm always like, I'm usually pretty good at things right away when I start. And then I saw a tweet that was like, or is it that whenever you start slinging, you're not good at it, you quit? I'm like, oh yeah, that's me.
I think it's a little of both. Like I went golfing one time, I'll never golf again. Not my thing.
Same with cross country skiing. I did it once. I'm like, I fucking hate this.
It was hot.
I'm out.
I remember just being really hot.
So sweaty.
Again, I guess that would be my memory of like, that was what I didn't like about it. I was so sweaty and hot.
Yes, any sport where I'm going to be like really, really overheated, or even activity like taking up welding, I wouldn't want to do that simply for the fact that you're around fire all day, and I don't want to be that hot.
That's the only reason you wouldn't be welding.
That otherwise, I'd be out there with my little thing. Yeah, if it wasn't for the heat.
Yeah, too much welding.
That's the only thing that's stopping you.
Yeah, from being a master welder.
Yeah.
I do have to say though, jumping thought to thought. Sorry.
Yes. No.
Talking about like
never apologize.
The conversation piece of it though, I do think when I end up in a situation where people don't like conversations like that, like my in-laws, then I'm just like the worst, and then then my strength quickly becomes a huge problem.
Well, because all your in-laws are, for the most part, neurotypical, it seems like. And yeah, I feel like you also do the thing where you anxiously are like, I need to fill this space. And then it goes downhill.
And like they'll ask one person a question and that one person will answer, and I'll sit there like dying because I have to chime in, and I can't because they like to respectfully listen and not talk over each other and chime in. I don't know. I feel like chime in. You got something to say?
Yes. Overlapping speech. Yeah. What are you waiting for? A fucking invitation to this conversation? Jump in. If you got something that's related, jump on in.
And with my family, that's why sometimes when neurotypicals would come to our house, they'd be so quiet. I'd be like, oh, we forgot to include you. Like if you don't talk loud, you don't get it in.
Yeah, you gotta include yourself. Yeah. Your whole family is you're the fun, loud family. Like you guys are all so fun, and you're the great hangout space, and everyone's just having a great time. Yeah, all talking at once. But I'm also like that, so that's why. But I've never been like, oh wow, that's so rude that Griffin didn't let me finish this sentence. It's like, no, I don't want to be allowed to finish my sentence because my sentence will go on forever. I need someone to jump in with their own thing, and then we're all talking together. I love that.
Right. If you don't cut me off, I'll just keep going because it's quiet.
Right. Yeah, and it'll get bad real fast.
Yeah, it's downhill until someone's like, okay, you're done.
Yes.
My turn.
Thank you.
Sweet relief.
I feel like all three of us do that.
Yes. Yes, when I'm uncomfortable, I will just go and I'm like, stop it, stop.
And then I feel like I need to add more.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting worse.
Yep.
Everybody around you is like, I hope she stops. I hope she stops.
Dear God.
And then I start making weird references that
Yeah.
like, no. I guess the only other thing that you just actually brought up was auditory processing. Is a real struggle for me. And I think that would have to do a lot with that math class reference that I made of sitting there and wondering how everyone can understand. And I think I also have this like extreme fear of phone calls. And I think it's because I can't see body language and I can't read lips. And I just really struggle when I'm hearing things and expected to know what to do or know what's going on with no other context. I need visuals. I need something else, or I just have no idea. Subtitles, greatest invention of all time.
Love
I do
them.
love
Can't watch
subtitles.
anything without subtitles.
I don't remember the last time I watched a show without subtitles.
Yep.
And the thing about you is when you already have the ADHD or when you already have the auditory processing delay where you're having trouble, like literally just your brain processing what words are being spoken to you. And then on top of that, you have difficulty with comprehension where it's like it takes you a little bit to like comprehend what's being said to you. So that's like a double whammy of your brain can't even like understand the words. And then you now have to figure out the comprehension. It's like that is so much to do within seconds. Of course, you feel like, panicked.
Right. And I need other things as cues. But as a teacher, that helps me because I always think about that when I'm teaching. Like I can't just talk in front of kids because I know they're not going to understand. When they do, I'm always blown away. Like, wow, you guys got that.
But I feel like all of your like struggles, quote unquote, for ADHD are actually big strengths when it comes to you being a teacher because you had those struggles and now you recognize them, that you can put all those things in place to make sure other kids don't face those same struggles. So it's like even your struggles, I feel like you've turned into strengths.
Yeah. And I think about it in the classroom a lot. Yeah. And I've helped parents who've been like, I think my child has ADHD. And I'm like, yes, they do.
I've been waiting for this day. Yes, they absolutely do, ma'am.
Oh, boy.
Now that you bring it up, I do see that. These are all the reasons why I agree with you.
I have an Excel
Let me get my chart.
spreadsheet that my husband made.
All right. Well, we could talk about ADHD forever and talk with you about ADHD forever. But I think we should wind down this first part, and that way we can get into the fun segments that you all know and love. And
Excited.
Get a little silly. Time to get a little silly.
Yeah.
All
right.
Than we've
Sounds
been.
good.
But we have one more segment.
That's right. Yes.
That's before we end
Oh,
and
yeah.
then get into the real segments.
Oh,
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So our last little segment that we have, or our first little segment for this episode, it's new. We started implementing it a couple episodes ago. It's called the BOD, Bird of the Day. So here's what happens.
Our last one was the chickadee.
Yes. So we pick a bird of the day, and then I will play a clip of this. You know how we end
But you
each
should
episode.
have a fun fact.
Yes, I have a fun
Okay.
fact. I'll tell you a fun
Oh, you
fact.
I
already
want to
picked the
know
bird?
these bird facts.
I got my bird. It's the ostrich.
ooh.
I'll tell you my fun facts, and then instead of our normal our as we do our bird
Squawk
calls,
out.
I'll play the ostrich call, and then we all have to try to imitate the ostrich call as our bird sound fade out.
And it's live, right?
Yeah,
Live.
yeah.
Like,
Not a dead
Well, not
ostrich.
laugh.
well, no.
Live like the recording.
Oh. What
Like
did
we're
you
all
mean?
hearing it for the first time, yeah.
A dying
What
ostrich.
the heck does that mean?
It's alive, right?
Before we get into the bod
Yeah, we'll
and
end it.
squawk out.
We'll end it on the bod as our squawk out, our bird of the
Right.
day.
But first, you've been listening to Weirds of a Feather, an ADHD-adjacent podcast. I'm your host, Kristen. Grace is over there.
Yep.
Haley's joining us as a guest. Thank you, Haley, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Haley will be joining us on the next episode as
episode.
well.
Yeah.
She'll still be a guest.
She'll still be a guest. She's still here.
I'm comfortable, I'll say.
We're all settled in. But if you would like to find us on all of the socials, you can find
Do
us at Weirds of a Feather at gmail.com. Jesus Christ.
You always say that.
Let's fuck this up. Okay. You can email us at weirdsofeather at gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at Weirds of Feather. You can find us on TikTok at Weirds of Feather. And we now have a Facebook group.
Kind of.
Yes.
We
We
have
do.
5 members.
They grow every day.
Yep,
I
they
gotta-
do.
Yeah.
I'll find it.
Eventually.
Soon it'll be 6. Haley
Yeah,
could be
soon
number
it'll be
6.
I'm going to get a Facebook.
Kristen,
and then
you'll
it
be
will
number 7.
7.
Yeah, it's not even Kristen.
Yeah. I haven't joined yet.
Yeah. And thank you for joining
Yeah.
us on this episode.
You can follow, subscribe.
No, okay, yeah.
I just butcher this. Every time I butcher it. You're supposed to
Write it down.
follow.
I know, we do
subscribe.
need to work.
We should just
Because
like
Kristen, you say this like
pre-record
7 times. Also, you're always like, "We'll do the squawk out," and then Kristen's like, "All right," and that was our episode. Don't forget to follow us. I'm like, "No,
We've already did
We've
it.
done. I faded us out. We're done."
I don't think I've ever been worse at something.
Well, why don't I do it? You can listen to us on all the podcast platforms. You can subscribe to us. Don't forget to leave us a review. 5 stars only. Don't forget, nothing below a 5. We don't want it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep. That's all we accept. You can write us a little review on Apple Podcasts. That really helps us out. And it's always fun to read. And then we might read your review on the podcast. Who knows?
Yeah, we would love to hear if you have any fun birds you want us to cover on the bod. Let us know if you have any like fun stories or want to share about your time in the education system as like a teacher or something. Let us know.
Yep. All right. And so we are going to end this one here. Don't forget to check out Haley's part 2 of this episode next week. And it'll be just sags, all fun sags.
All fun sags.
All right. And we are going to end it with our bird of the day, our bod.
What's our bod?
Our bod today is an ostrich.
Oh.
I have a fun fact and then a bonus fun fact specifically for you, Kristen.
Oh.
My first fun fact, ostriches swallow pebbles, which assist in their digestive processes.
Oh, I had no
So they
idea.
swallow a bunch of rocks.
How big are the pebbles?
Nope,
No,
that's the
okay,
only
that's
detail
it.
I have.
Okay, okay.
Pebble. They're pebble
I
size.
follow-up questions.
This big.
Don't. Yeah, that big. Everyone can see what Haley's holding up, and we all know it's that big.
Yep.
Marble. It's like a marble.
And here is my second fun fact just for you,
Oh.
Kristen. The ostrich is the only bird with 2 toes on each foot, which helps it when running. I know you're all about animal
wait.
toes.
Does that mean it's an ungulate? No, because it's not a mammal. Oh. Back to the books, everybody.
They also have the largest eyeballs of any land mammal. That's a third.
That's not a
or
mammal.
not a mammal.
It's
Any
a
land
bird.
animal.
Okay.
Out of all the mammals, the bird has the biggest eyeballs. No, out of all land animals, ostriches have the biggest eyeballs.
I had no
2
idea.
inches. Look at that.
Jesus Christ.
All right, and now I shall play an ostrich cry, and then we will all try
It's
to
like
imitate
Steve
it.
Buscemi.
Yeah,
But the bird.
I can't even picture 2 inches.
it's like
It's like this big.
that's big.
That's
yeah.
big.
How's our eyesight? Very good.
Everybody get a
I don't know.
ruler.
No.
Measure out 2 inches.
No, you don't need to. All right, Haley, I'm starting you
No.
off.
Yeah.
Yep, let's hear it.
Yeah,
All right.
you're first.
That was pretty good.
Oh, your lip.
Yeah, it's a lot of limpness.
Nailed it.
Yeah, it's.
Now I'm like a sheep.
I know it's almost like turkey, like
Like
gentle,
a high-pitched
yeah,
turkey.
high-pitched,
turkey.
gentle turkey.
That's good.
A lady turkey.
Yes. All right, end it there.
I can't stop.